Hey everybody, how is it going? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to go over my trading activity on the day, and then I'm going to get into the best looking trade setups that I see in the market right now. Now, before I get started, as always, everybody, please remember I am not a financial advisor. All of this is just my opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Please make all of your own trading decisions. All right, so let's get into the trade that I made during the day. Let's get this out of the way, and then we can get into some of those other nice looking charts that I want to show you guys. It was just a day trade on EYPT, and looking at how this day is shaping up, I got jackpot lucky on this one. This was my favorite out of all the stocks that were gapping up that were on my watch list today, just because of this nice little rounded bottom formation this thing was making. The momentum was to the upside, so I figured this was laying a pretty good foundation for a continuation if it gapped up, which it did, to continue running. But that is the opposite of what happened. This thing has been selling off the whole day. I don't know what is going on with this thing, but anyway, let's get into this chart. Let's actually just go to the minute chart first. Let me back it up. I mean, this sell-off was just so big, you can barely even see the open. We'll have to back this chart up so we can see it. But we had this nice gap up. It was starting to hold, and then it just sold off just a little bit. So once it started to curve back up, I put my order to buy on a break above this recent high. I actually put my order to buy at $19.36, but it executed my order at $19.50. So I got a little bit of a bad execution, but you can see a ton of buying came in on this candle, and I put in an order to sell at $21.39. And this thing actually went as high as $21.50. I'm actually surprised that it even executed my order, because I've seen like these type of fast moves where it goes through my price, leaves my order there, and then turns around and rolls over. And I didn't even get a notification that the order was executed. So if this thing started to roll over, I was going to take at least a little bit out of this trade. I wasn't going to let this move turn into a loser on the day for me. So I was getting ready to take the position off if it broke $20, and I went in to put in that order for a trailing stop, and it wouldn't let me execute it. It was because that order did execute up there at 21.39. So I got pretty lucky on this one, and as we can see, if we roll the day forward, man, this thing just continued to sell off. So this was just an early morning trade if it breaks above the high of the first 15 minutes, so which it did, and I usually try to get out pretty quick. I thought this thing was going to continue to keep moving to the upside, but it sold off for whatever reason, so I will chalk this one up to the into the jackpot lucky category. But let's actually go to some of the other stocks that I was looking at. Another one that was gapping up this morning was CREX. And we can see CREX actually had a little bit of a run. Looks like it had a pretty decent sized run. Let me go to let's go to the 5-minute chart on this one. This one actually had a break. Oh, this one broke out later in the day. Normally I try to avoid the trades if they don't break out within the first hour of trading. That's when most of the trading volume is going to happen. So if it doesn't happen in the first hour, I just take it off my list. But this one actually ended up breaking out at 11:35, so 2 full hours after the day opened up. That's why I missed that decent move that it made. But you can see it is rolling over just a little bit. But if you would have bought on this breakout right here, if you'd have kept that same strategy, you could have got in right around $2.80. And of course, if you would have played it perfectly, you could have got out over $3.50, because this one had a nice little momentum push as well. Let's see which other one was on my list. Oh, it was OXBR. OXBR, man, this thing, I thought this thing turned around real quick, but it looks like it's finding some strength at the end of the day. Let's go to that 5-minute chart and look at it. Yep. This thing gapped up right away and then sold off immediately. So this thing just right away went right off my list. If this just happens in the first 15 minutes, it goes right off my list. I'm not even looking for it as a breakout. I want the absolute strongest candidates breaking out. I don't want these deep pullbacks and then take a chance of a breakout later, because you can see we had a breakout here during the middle of the day, but it failed right away. But we can see OXBR is actually starting to build up some more momentum, so this one might be a runner tomorrow. And the last one was GGPI. Take a look at GGPI. This one I was actually pretty excited about because, you know, this thing was breaking out to a new all-time high. And there is nothing more bullish than a new all-time high. So if you want some of the odds on your side, you know, it usually is a pretty good box to check there. But let's go to the 5-minute chart. Take a look how this one would have played out. We back it out here. Let's see, we had this nice gap up, and it just kind of meandered around until about... This thing ended up having its breakout. Actually, it broke out right here at 11:30, so 2 hours after the trading day opened. So this one went off my list as well. That's why I'm not seeing these after the first hour. They usually just go right off my list, and because I'm only looking to trade those in the first 60 minutes of the day. But you can see this one had its breakout at about 11:30, and it only reached a high of 1637. So this breakout point would have been right at 1550. So that still would have been a decent trade. You know, if you could have caught that breakout at say 1560 and was lucky enough to get out right around, you know, 1630, that was still a pretty decent size move. If you remember that chart on the one that I did trade, the EYPT, you can see this wasn't a huge percentage move, but you know, it ended up being a pretty decent size gain for me. I mean, getting in at 19, I think I got in at 1950 even, and I got out at 21.39. So, you know, it was about a 6% move or so. So I mean, it was a decent size move. But anyway, let's get into some of the other charts. All right, so let's get into some of the nicest looking trades that I am watching. I'm only going to be thinking about taking a position in these if the market shows me some more strength and starts moving to the upside. I think it's kind of in no man's land. In fact, I'll touch on the market averages real quick before I end the video and just tell you a little bit more what I would want to see for that to happen. But the first one I want to talk about is Progenity. We can see Progenity has been pulling back on some very light volume. You can see the volume really contracting. It's making a nice little trend line, upper trend line, and it looks like it is finding a support right down here, at this area right here, right around 285, 290 or so. And if we get a break above this trend line right here, I'm going to be very interested in taking a swing trade on Progenity. Let's go to that 15-minute chart, see it just a little bit closer. But you can see that bullish triangle formation just itching for a breakout above this trend line. I have a alert set on my software to let me know when that happens, because I definitely think that this one has a pretty strong possibility of, at the very least, testing the old highs right around 1440. So if I can get in right around, I don't know, it's probably going to be a little bit of a late entry, because these things usually break through these trend lines pretty quick, and that's actually what I want to see. I want to see a quick break. I'll give up a little bit of the move in order to have a lot of strength breaking through that trend line, but I'll probably end up getting in, I would say, just guessing, probably around 370, 375. So a move up to about 440 is a pretty decent sized move from there. So Progenity is looking really good at the moment. Next one I want to talk about is PXLW. This one has been running beautifully after completing this rounded bottom formation. We got a little bit of a turnaround today, so I don't want to buy it just yet. I want it to pull back a little bit, but what I am noticing is there is a pretty strong support area right around 475 to about $5 a share. Let's go to that. Let's actually go to the 15-minute chart and back it out a little bit. But this is what I am looking at on PXLW. We have a really nice support area here between, let's call it just 475 to right around $5 a share. So if we can get it pulled back into this area, I think there are multiple areas of support down there that could support PXLW for a bounce. Actually, let's go back to the daily chart real quick, because looking at this one, you can see the 21-period exponential moving average is just below it, right around 470. You got the blue line. Let me actually get this box out of here real quick. You got the blue line, which is the 50-period simple moving average, right around 475. You have the 8-period exponential moving average, which was coming up on $5, but you got to realize if the stock comes down again tomorrow, that's going to bend down just a little bit. The trajectory is going to slow down a little bit. So between 475-ish and about 5, there are multiple layers layers of support. You can also, going back to mid-September, we got some support levels. So I'll be looking for a bounce swing trade on PXLW if that happens. One stock that is breaking out today that I have not bought just yet is Boeing. I've been watching this one for quite a while, making a bullish triangle formation. We're getting that breakout today. One thing that I was worried about was that yellow line right there, that 200 period simple moving average. I wanted to make sure that it cleared it completely before I put some money to risk on it. And you can see this one is making a pattern just like I'm hoping that Progenity makes when it has that little bit of a breakout. So Boeing is looking really bullish at the moment. I'm still in a little bit of a holding pattern with Boeing. And last but not least right here is Corsair. We can see Corsair Gaming is trying its best to carve out a bottom, and it looks like it is ready to break out imminently. It's got a nice little rounded bottom going on. It's finding a bunch of resistance at this 50 period simple moving average. This thing has been a thorn in its side, but once it breaks through it, it should be a pretty nice move up. And if you go to that 15-minute chart and back it out, you can see this thing is just, really fighting with that area right around $27 a share. So if it could break through that area right around $26.80 to about $27 a share, I think this rounded bottom formation should have a nice follow-through breakout. So CRSR is also on my list. Now, a couple of stocks I did want to talk about before I got into the market averages are the gold stocks. Let's take a look at the GLD first. I put the gold stocks in a video last week, and I was hoping for some more support, not only with the price of gold, but with some of the gold stocks that I was watching, and it looks like that's what we're getting. I mean, gold had this nice little breakout above this resistance area on the GLD at 171.25, and it is holding near the high. So that is exactly what you want to see for a continuation move higher. So gold is continuing to be strong. Let's take a look at silver real quick. I think silver is just a little bit weaker. You can see silver is definitely holding its own though, holding above that breakout area. It's just finding resistance at that 200 period simple moving average. So those are usually kind of tough to get through, but once you get through them, you can usually have some pretty decent follow through to the upside. And of course, the one that I bought was AGI. You can see AGI is continuing to hold near the highs. One that I was considering buying came down to AGI and GFI. You can see GFI is even stronger. So GFI having a nice follow through to that breakout. Another one that is looking really good is KGC. You can see KGC broke through that 50 or that 200 period simple moving average, is just continuing to move higher. So these stocks are showing a lot of strength. Oh, and last but not least, honorable mention is IM Gold, IAG. See, IAG is having a nice move to the upside as well. So this is kind of confirming the move in gold for me. So once these gold miners have a decent sized pullback, that's going to be my green light to really add to one of these, put on a decent sized position, because normally when you start seeing a pattern like this, you get some follow through, over the next coming couple of weeks or months. So I think gold stocks might finally be a buy. I mean, they fool me more often than not, but the way that some of these things are breaking out, I'm guessing we're going to have some continuation follow through. Oh, and I also wanted to touch base on some of the cannabis stocks. Some of the cannabis stocks are looking really good as well. Let's start with CGC. You can see CGC made a break above that 50 period simple moving average. It is pulling back today. Some of them are kind of weak today, but the recent price action is kind of telling me we're probably going to get another hook up once these things consolidate. So those are another group of stocks that are on my watch list. Excuse me. Next one is ACB. We can see ACB making a nice rounded bottom breakout, having some trouble with that 200 period simple moving average, which is to be expected, but I would expect it to hold this area right around 770 to 775 if it does make it down that far. So ACB is definitely on the list. Another one is Cron. You can see Cron is having a very volatile last week or so, but I think this thing is looking like it's probably going to find some support and then start hooking back up. So I really like the chart on Cron. Next one is TCNNF. TCNNF, you can see that one having a nice breakout of this rounded bottom. So if this thing pulls back and then starts to hook back up, which I think it will, I think this one is a great trade candidate. And last one in this sector that I'm watching is Tilray. You can see Tilray was moving up today, even though it is pulling back. But you can see these rounded bottom formations are starting to have some nice follow through. They're finding support at those moving averages. So I think this sector is also going to be in play going forward. So the gold, the cannabis, and the solar stocks were ones that were on my list as well. But I just wanted to touch base on the gold stocks and touch base on these cannabis stocks before I moved in to the market averages. All right, so let's get into these market averages, starting off with the NASDAQ as usual. And of course, the NASDAQ ETF is the QQQ, and that's what I have up right here. But looking at today's price action, you can see the NASDAQ gapped up, sold off, went just below that 8-period exponential moving average, and then reversed. So looking at the daily chart, this is actually not bad at all. But if we go to that 15-minute chart and take a look underneath the hood, we can start to see some deterioration going on in the Q. So this is kind of concerning to me. The Qs kind of gapped above this resistance area that I have on this chart, so I was thinking that today was going to be a day where I wanted to put on some more risk to the upside, but unfortunately that gap up sold off right away, and the NASDAQ has just been struggling to try to gain its footing the rest of the day. And if you back it out right here, you can see that this chart is starting to take the look of a descending wedge, and of course that is a bearish formation, and those usually end up having breakouts to the downside. So once I saw this going on today, that made me pump the brakes and, just remain in that holding pattern. I need another card or two to come out of the deck before I decide that I want to put on some more risk. I think if we can get above this pivot that we made on that gap up, I think that's going to be a really good sign for the NASDAQ. So hopefully that happens tomorrow. The next area, of course, is going to be this resistance area right around 397 on the QQQ. And I do think if we can get above that pivot, we should be able to blast through that area. It might take a day or two, but if we get above this pivot, I would expect, us to be making a new high on the Qs before too long. But let's go to the spider. If we jump over to the spider, we can see the spider is a little bit stronger than the NASDAQ. It's got a little bit of a head and shoulders formation. This isn't worrying me too much, especially the way the S&P 500 or the spider, finished the day. It finished the day kind of strong in a consolidation, and it's right at this resistance area right here, right around 467.55. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what the S&P 500 does tomorrow. Hopefully we get a gap up. It's not going to take much of a gap up tomorrow to clear some of these areas that I'm talking about on the chart. So as long as the market doesn't sell off hard, I think we probably should be in pretty good shape. But let's jump over to the Dow, and the Dow continues to be the weakest. You can see after this gap up, it failed that resistance area, which became support. So it failed it and it dropped right back down through it and has been selling off pretty much most of the day. And I took a look at the Dow earlier, and I didn't really see a whole heck of a lot of carnage. Disney was having a little bit of follow through to the downside, and so was United Healthcare. And I do have a position in Disney in my M1 Finance account, and I will continue to add at these levels. I think this is a pretty decent area to be adding some Disney. It's not a load up the boat type area, but very happy to be accumulating some more Disney. I think Disney's going to be a really interesting player in the metaverse, and plus they have all those other great businesses, but I think definitely a good area to be picking up some Disney. Next one I want to talk about is the IWM. IWM is weaker than I had hoped for. I thought we were easily going to get above this resistance area right around 240.25, but man, it just reversed right away, and it's actually looking like it could be rolling over. The IWM is one that I am watching very closely. I think if the IWM can break out above this pivot high right around 244.50, the market is going to get very strong, so I'm keeping a close eye on the IWM. But that is my take on the market averages, everybody. Okay, everyone, that is all I have for this video, so I'm going to end it right there. But if you have any questions or comments on any of these stocks, or if you have any other ones you want me to take a look at, please leave it down there in the comments section. I will get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end, and until next time, take care, everybody.